Here for another adventure. It's Monday evening. The information stream is popping like crazy. It's unbelievable. We saw a short clip from President Trump talking about Iran, how it's going to be over shortly. This is such a turning point in the history of mankind. Well, water, good stuff. Because we're finally fighting the deep state. We're not fighting countries anymore. We're not sending our brave soldiers to willy nilly attack other countries that seem to be hostile to us. Now we're really facing the deep state. It's not the Persian people. It's the deep state behind it. It's not the Israeli people either. It is the deep state that is somewhat behind there. I am a little bit mystified at this point about, well, they say saving Israel for last, that the last thing is to take out the deep state players in Israel. And this could be a very big move. This is a very and again, I don't know how much. Hey, Wade, the number 10 Stargate portal has been secured. Yeah, where is that, Wade? Where's the number 10? Just another reminder. That's pretty cool. Okay, so they're securing the Stargates. The money situation is, I think it's very good. They're talking about Kraken is basically going to be taking over aspects of the stock market. Excuse me, of the stock market by beginning the tokenization of stocks, which is going to be amazing. So you'll be able to buy a few tokens of Tesla. Like, I've wanted to buy Tesla for a while. I had a few Tesla stocks a few years ago, but I wasn't able to hold on to them. But you'll be able to buy fractions of companies. So sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah. Iran. Yeah, the Iran. So he had a press conference and he said they've totally annihilated Iran. Iran, the deep state within Iran. How does this all work out? How is it even possible for the parasites to be in control of a government? But this world is full of surprises. I mean, they've been running our country. They've been running a lot of countries. The deep state. Hey, Kenzo. And I also want to apologize to my friend Jamie. I texted him, or he texted me, and he said that he really appreciates when I put in pictures from the homestead here. And I really wanted to get to it. We were just so busy today that I wasn't able to even take a few snapshots. But we did. I did finish most of the framing for the floor of the second floor. I haven't framed the whole second floor, the back of the Earth ship. I haven't framed it yet, but at least I'll have a platform to work, a place to stand. I'll have we'll have a base, a home base that's up above our RV. But I did a lot with the structure. I shored up the structure in some ways. I want to be absolutely sure that everything is supported, so that the structure stays up for as long as it does. I mean, I have hopes that it will last for a very long time. I'm really putting my heart and soul into this building enterprise. Also, okay, just one other side point, then we'll get back to Iran and Israel, because I think this is like a fundamental importance in so many ways that are it's almost impossible to just tie all the loose ends that are flailing around in this conflict. I'm drinking, by the way, I'm drinking Wyatt Earp coffee from Brian Best. Okay, very very light. It's a light but tangy, very tangy brew. So I highly recommend the Wyatt Earp. Remember, Wyatt Earp apparently spent some time in Prescott. That's where Brian lives. So interesting. The Stargate, yeah. Iran. So the Stargate was in Iran. Interesting. Thanks, Jimmy Jones. Blessings back, man. But okay, so one little story that I thought of that I just want to share, and I want to share this story because I want people to understand how important the details of your life are and how things have a funny way of circling back. That's my intent here. My intent is not to show you, wow, I'm such a cool dude. I did this thing and I did that thing. I want to share this because I think this is a stunning example that just sort of came to my mind of how the universe prepares us for the future. Like in the simulation, we feel like, okay, I have this job, I have this house, I'm basically where I'm going to be forever until I retire, and then I'm going to do something a little different, but basically the same stuff. Just I won't have to, I won't have to knock myself out to make schedules. So today, after I did my framing thing, I had actually put in the ceiling and floor joists. I mean, it's the ceiling for the first floor, but it's the floor for the second floor. But I put in most of the supports. I still have a bunch of work to do on the short ones, but I put in the long ones, the bigger spans. So I wanted to be completely sure that all the kind of touch points, all the foundation points of this very high platform, it's like 10 feet off the ground, are absolutely secure and tied into the ground through this is like carpentry stuff. Like if you know little carpentry, that headers, you put a header over a window. Why? And the header is attached to like studs that the header is very thick generally. So the idea is that in the area above the window, there's no real supports because the supports are here and here. So you want to have a very substantial what's called a header, so that the weight above it is transferred. It doesn't come crashing down on the window, but instead the weight is moved to the two support beams on the sides. So that's kind of like basic building kavana. That's really, like, if you understand that principle, in theory, at least in theory, you'd be able to design any kind of building you wanted. And I obviously I'm very conscious of that idea in my building. So everything, so if something is just hanging in space, like some of the floor was, I'm not happy about that. I want to make sure that the places where the load is felt is secure to the ground. Kind of weird stuff that I'm bringing this up, but here's the thing that I wanted to share that I think is so interesting. And like I said, I'm not sharing this because I want, because I think it's so cool or that it has to do with me. But this is I because what I want to share, I'm hoping that people go, that happens to me all the time, and therefore whatever. like we're looking into the dynamics of conscious creation. So about 10 years ago, I was living in Brooklyn. I was a Hasidic Yid. I was a Yid living a Hasidic lifestyle, very, very happy with the community, very happy with my lifestyle, very happy with with a lot of things, not happy with my job. Other things were not so great, but I basically I have the philosophy that if something in my life is not good or difficult, let's say, that I balance that with a lot of things that really make me feel alive and good and productive and positive. So about 10 years ago, and I lived in Brooklyn. I lived on a corner lot. I had a little teeny house on the corner, and the amount of gardening space was roughly equivalent to like my RV. There was really no place to garden. And I was so frustrated with that thing, with not having huge gardens that every inch of my property was like gardens, but like it they had gardens on top of gardens. I had plants next to plants. I had crowding. Everything was going on. It was like a mad people that went by were like, "Can't you like clean up your yard a little bit?" I'm like, "It is cleaned up." I mean, this is the way I'm doing all these different experiments on all these like plant things that I was doing. I had a peach tree, two peach trees growing. I had raised gardens. I had tropical plants. I had, flowering plants. I was doing a lot with dahlias. I had all kinds of beautiful dahlias in the yard. I had a strip along the sidewalk that was completely like a forest. It was like 3 feet wide and maybe 20 feet long. It was just full of dahlias and rose bushes and everything. Everything was crammed in. At one point, I got the idea I'm going to grow seedlings of every variety of tomato that strikes me as being interesting. So I had indoor lights going, and I was growing like I would say 10 to 20 different varieties of tomatoes, getting the seedlings ready for the spring. Well, in New York, really for the summer, you don't really plant in New York till June. Out here today, I planted. It's March, and I planted tomato seeds, squash seeds, pepper seeds. What else did I plant? Um, anyway, but not to mention every time we eat an orange or a tangerine or anything, I take the seeds and put them in my mouth a little bit. Somebody said they get your DNA and then stick them in the ground. So I don't really know what's going to come up. But I decided that it was warm enough here that I was going to do some planting. So I got out in the garden, and I had recently planted an area that I hadn't initially wanted to use as a garden area, because I ran out of space in the garden area, because I bought 6 trees and I really had only had room for like 4, so I added on another section of garden, and the garden wasn't really uh hadn't been manicured the way I like to manicure a garden, which is I like to dig everything. I like to dig down deep. I like to remove any large boulders and that kind of thing. I mean, here in Arizona today, I was removing it because I had to dig up this new garden. I removed like a boulder the size of a, I don't know what. It was huge, it took me like a half hour just to get it out, and then I was like, you know, you can't lift these boulders, you have to roll them, and I've learned how to do that here in Arizona. But anyway, so I'm working with this thing, and I actually put some plants, some seeds in the ground and watered them. Now I have a water tank nearby. But I thought to myself, not so long ago, 10 years ago, when I was living in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, I was growing these weird varieties. I guess they were hybrids. I didn't know about hybrids then. Like now, I would not grow hybrids. But these weird tomato plants, they had names like atomic whatever, and they had stripes and dots, polka dots, and Cherokee tomatoes. I still grow those. But I spent the winter in order to get through the winter, because a lot of my life was, even though I made the best of it, was very difficult. And I didn't want to focus on any of the difficult experiences I was having. So I got heavily into it. And this is just the way I cope with situations. I got heavily into my tomatoes, and I grew all these different varieties of tomatoes. And there was something else that I did. Oh, and also another thing I did was I ordered like I don't want to exaggerate, but let's say at least 5 to 6 to 7 varieties, different varieties of garlic, of seed garlic. In other words, of bulbs of garlic. I had spicy garlic, I had Chinese garlic, I had striped garlic, I had all these different kinds of garlic that I was going to see what I liked best. And on Shabbos, I would share with my friends. I say, try this garlic, try that garlic. It just became like I just tripped out on garlic and tomato plants. Now, when I look back, I think to myself, now when I look back and I'm tilling the garden, I'm working my ass off in the garden with joy. I mean, I love it. I'm loving every second of, because I have yeah, I use that word kavan a lot. I have a process for developing soil. Like if Brian's on this, Brian knows, he's a landscape gardener. But you want to have a certain amount of mulch and a certain amount. For out here, I put cactus, old, dead cactus plants, and good mulch from Home Depot with the kind of sandy stuff that hangs around here, sandy and heavily, cow manured. I mean, everything here is like decades of cow manure. And that's what makes it rich. All this stuff, and to mix it together. Remember, I said the other day that in Hasidic philosophy, they say it's not the seed that grows; it's the soil that puts life force into the seed. And anyway, so I was tilling the soil, and it was very, very strenuous, because I kept hitting these huge boulders. I wasn't planning to garden this area. But now that I'm here and I have a garden and I have a well, I'm like in gardener's heaven. I'm like in absolute ecstatic, joyful heaven, because I told you the story when I was 5 years old or 4 years old or 3 years old, whatever it was, that I got myself a seed packet of corn. And I threw them all over my father's suburban garden. And my father was like, what is this plant that's growing all over the place? And finally, somehow he figured it out that I had planted all this. In other words, it's in my blood. It's in my blood. So here I am trying to cope with difficulties in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, by escaping into this fantastic episode of plant insanity. I mean, nobody does. This is just totally insane. By the way, also I grew my own pot plants with the same intensity. I mean, I had to get I mean, I could tell you stories about them, but that's not for today. But anyway, I love this. I love the planting, and my father was a gardener. My cousins were gardeners. Their fathers, their grandfathers, my grandmother on my mother's side, everybody in my arena growing up was involved with gardening. So I come by it honestly. But the idea, the reason I bring this up is because here I am trying to survive in Brooklyn 10 years ago, whatever it was, by escaping, really, like this is no, in a sense it's really no different from having a drink in a way, but other than it's more productive than drinking. I mean, to have a drink is just, is, for me, I'm an alcoholic, so it's just like it's not, it's an escape, and it makes me, I get so intensely, like, joyful that I'm totally unbearable. Like, unless you're my friend, unless you're like one of my drinking buddies. And I told you, my main drinking buddy cried when I stopped drinking. He's like, Ellie, he says, you're so much fun. But anyway, okay, so, but the point is this, that here I am living in Brooklyn and not thinking like, wow, man, I'm doing all this gardening stuff. I'm passionate. I love seeds. I love putting the idea of just creating things by throwing them in the soil is one of my greatest joys. So the reason I'm telling this story is that here I was in Brooklyn doing this stuff. I never, in my wildest dreams, if you had told me at that time, someday you're going to own a big piece of land and you're going to have lots of gardens and you're going to grow whatever you want, and that this is a sign, and this is how the universe tells you this is where you need to go, even if it's not appropriate at that time. That the universe throws you bones, the universe throws you hints, like I did, like when I was a little boy with the corn kernels. Since I was born, I just had this love for seeds and plants. And now what seems like accidental, serendipity, I call it hashgacha pratis, which means divine providence. By divine providence, because I don't get in my own way so much anymore, I don't try to figure things out. So when an opportunity comes my way, I just jump on it. I'm just like, okay, let's do this now. Oh, so this happens, let's do that. I end up with this ridiculously large piece of land in the middle of the Mojave Desert, which, it's not like grower's choice. It's not like a place for somebody who loves to grow things, that would automatically think like, let's go to the Mojave Desert and make some gardens. But on the other hand, the sunshine here is, I'm nothing like it in New York, nothing like the sunshine here. When I was gardening in the city in Crown Heights, I had to take into account that I live next to a high rise, and the shadows during the afternoon were falling in this direction, and I had to figure all this out. I don't have to worry about that particular issue out here, because the sun, if anything, I have to figure out, how do I protect my plants from getting too much sun. But the thing that I want people members of the community to think about, because I'm constantly wanting people to find their niche, to find what really makes them happy, because Elon and all the other people, a lot of people are saying, we're not going to need to work soon. We're not going to have this intense issue with money. And what do you really want to do? Now, there are people in the world who really like to make money. That's their whole thing. I've never, it would be, I would sort of I like the idea, sort of, but not really. but I wanna piggyback that idea in kind of a strange way that I'm not able to explain to myself. So, maybe maybe you'll be able to explain it to me, that when I was a teenager, I lived in Scarsdale, New York, where everybody, even people that were not very academically inclined, but everybody went to college. I mean, I don't think I met anyone from my high school class that I don't remember anyone from my high school class that didn't go to college, except for Barry Littman, who was a luthier. So he makes guitars and he plays guitar. So I don't think he went to college, but he probably went to college too. I don't know. Barry, if you're out there, hey. Uh, so the idea of not going to college was completely unheard of in my community. And I always had this feeling like, why do I want to go to college? It just so even then I had this kind of and now I'm thinking like all these people with all the degrees and all this education that gives you the license to do X, Y, and Z, they're going to be a little bit put out maybe by the new world where it seems to me that in the new world, doing what you love to do will be the norm. So just like I grew up in a place where everybody was talking about what college they wanted to go to, I will be in a place where everybody enjoys gardening, fixing things, building houses, looking at the stars, having fun together, accepting each other, this kind of thing. Like the world is rapidly changing, obviously. Hey, 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 Spade Nine, Spade Nine. Um, yeah. Let me just get rid of this troll. Um, right. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Where did that guy go? Rosemary and ginger. Yeah, ginger's a good medicine mint too. Rosemary and mint and all these things. Yeah. So yeah, we had that troll. Sorry about that, but I think we got him out. Anyway, I just want people to remind themselves that if you have some like weird passion that seems like it's not even a hobby for you because it's so out there, that it could be the universe knocking on your door telling you you really need to check this out because that's why you came here. Hey, John Struthers. Yeah, I'm sorry, by the way, that we're later. We're really trying to start earlier, but it's so hard. The daylight was so I worked all morning on the framing. Then I did some gardening in the afternoon, and then we decided we would go down to our old garden and check out the trees and give them some water. And we put this like mushroom shaped water tank on the back of the truck. I don't know if you're like a redneck hillbilly like me, you'll know what I'm talking about. And we filled it up with a little bit of water, and we went down and we watered the trees down in our other garden. And then on the way back, the back of my truck opened up and the tank like slid out on the steepest part of my road. So poor Daniela and I are trying to get this tank. We emptied all the water out and back into the truck, which is not easy even on a level piece of ground. But that's the life of living off grid. I also had We refilled some of our water tanks today, so I had to start up my generator to get my well pump going, and the, uh, the generator was just I'm not starting, man. I'm just not, I'm not into it, man. You can pull the cord and you can try this and try that, but and then I just kept at it and it started, which is huge. I mean, that makes me feel like, Joe Redneck, man. I mean, I got that generator to put out at the end. It's that's for me. That's probably as good as it gets, considering that 2.5 year or a year and a half ago when we first came up here, somebody gave me a generator and I did not really know what it was, and now I'm like, you're gonna start and you're gonna start right now. Anyway, yeah, so that's it. So, okay, so now basil, rosemary, and ginger, yeah, it is good medicine mint too, yeah. Okay, so let's, if you want, a dead a redneck, Mr. Guru. Ha, I love it. Well, thank you, thank you. I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but I mean, I'm a wannabe redneck. Not in like, like beer drinking or anything like that. But do you know that the original title of redneck comes from there was a group of miners. I think they were miners or some kind of workers and they figured out that the government cheated them in some way, and they were all veterans, and they took up arms against the government, and they wore a red bandana around their necks. That's how we got the term redneck. But they were the original, like, like kind of republic kind of dudes. I mean, not like that the republic is violent, but they took on the government. They said, you can't cheat us like that. And they were they were experienced, gun toting veterans, and I think they defeated the government. I have to really find out about the story. That was a compliment. I understand. I understand. You're saying I'm not. I don't know. It's an iffy subject for me because when I was 19, so going back to the ideal story of college, so everybody said, you have to go to college. So I I went to college and I was like, what am I doing here? I everything about the college experience was difficult for me. It was hard for me to be around so many. You know, I was very shy. So to be around a lot of very uh, eligible kinds of that was really hard for me. It was just too much for me. And they I went to this place called Hampshire College, which was like a hippie college, but not really. It wasn't really a hippie college. It was kind of a hippie college, but I ended up playing a lot in a lot of local bands, and I was really into music at the time. And I just said, I don't want to be in college. I want to go to Nashville. And I did. I went to Nashville for a couple of years, and after a couple of years, I decided then I would go back to college. Then I wanted to go to college. But the idea that people had in my community was, what's the question? There's like, you go to after high school, you go to college. That's just what we do. But I never liked that. And I still, to this day, there's a kind of a smugness that, at least, like Trump's always fighting with Harvard. I mean, Harvard was considered like the be all and end all of, like, once you get into Harvard, you're made in the shade kind of thing. But the creeps just took it to the other extreme. Okay, there is sound. There is sound, yeah. Nothing's changed. They're still cheating us. Right, exactly. That's coming from Ted Zizos. Yes, they're still cheating us. But I really believe that Trump and the White Hats and Q and the Q force and the Q information and the white hat movement. I believe we are going into the promised land. In fact, I ended up uh, I wanted to check with another Yid about this idea that don't people in Israel understand? Well, they don't because they're under missile attack. Apparently, it's not easy there. The whole problem with Israel and with Iran is that there's a government that is deep state, and then there's the people, and there's no connection whatsoever. So this whole like elite class of people that go to colleges and do the right things and get the right licenses and are top of the pedo class and all this other stuff. This is the reason like I'm a wannabe redneck is not that is that I enjoy doing things that I sense as being real. Was teaching school real to me? Not really. It wasn't real because it really they weren't interested in teaching. Just like when I was a contractor for 20 years, it wasn't like I mean there was a certain amount of expertise and craftsmanship involved, but it was also just a lot of business. Like, can you get this addition built for $20,000 in 2 weeks? And I'm like, sure, of course. Um, yeah, whack the troll. I do. You do understand? Yeah. Okay, there is sound. Nothing changed. They're still cheating us. Yeah, they are. It was a program. JFK Jr. I don't know what the obsession is with JFK Jr. I mean, he probably is alive. I don't know, but I like JFK Jr. I think he's probably a really nice guy. I I don't know. Teachers were taught a certain way to think. Yeah, yeah. You must be a teacher because it was a program. I see what you're saying. Yeah, they were, and I after like teaching for 15 years and being every year being like either ineffective or there was another label they would give me. It was either ineffective or developing. I was a developing teacher for 20 years. I mean, 20 years, I just couldn't quite figure it out. I was a nice guy, but I tried hard, but according to the experts, the administrators, I was developing. I had some potential, but generally wasn't up to snuff. So it was not easy. Baby, could you give me a little more water? Thanks. The water's so good tonight. I don't know. I'm thirsty. We had just an outrageously delicious meal tonight, and I ate a lot. I actually had a keto carnivore cinnamon bun for dessert, which I don't usually get desserts like that. But we had our health salad and we had really nice.
Finish your coffee.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Is that a little chocolate at the bottom?
Yeah.
Anyway, life is good. Okay, so that's it. Teachers were taught a certain way to think. Yeah. And yes, yeah, so we understand. So in terms of the news, in terms of what seems to be happening, like the big picture, and this is where many roads come together, in my opinion. There must have been a lot of salt. I had a burger that had all kinds of spices in it, and they must have had a lot of salt because I'm so thirsty now. But we shared a steak, and and then we had our health salad, which is basically raw cabbage and sauerkraut, which we love. And I put hot sauce on it, of course. But yeah, it was just everything is, it's just such a nice life. Battle of Blair Mountain, right? 1600 Scottish Presbyterian rebels looking into as we talk. Yeah, was that the Battle of Blair Mountain? I think, yeah, it could have been. I'm not sure. Yeah, find out about it, but look up redneck, because it's not what people think it is now. Now you think, oh, some guy who's out in the field all the time drinking Budweiser, and he's got a redneck because he has a menial job. See, I don't think these jobs are menial. I think these jobs are glorious. Would never trade this job to be a bean counter, no matter how much money they paid me. I'm not doing that, man. I've done that. Why? You want to pay me this money? I'm not wasting my life on this this idiocy. Okay, so the thing with Iran, Trump is saying we got it done. He did what nobody else even thought of, because for the deep state, from what I understand, their idea of a good time is perpetual conflict in the Middle East. That's why the Rothschilds started Israel, not because they love the Jewish people. They obviously don't love the Jewish people. How do I know that? Because they vaccinated the Israelis like they were lab rats. There's no love. They don't love anybody but their own pockets. And this brings me into a side issue that I'm really struggling with. And maybe you guys can help me with this, but I don't know if this is fake news. I don't know what it is, but I saw this clip. Again, we are in, I spend time in the simulation by choice. We spend time looking through X, looking through information on X. And I happened across an article or a clip or I don't know what it was. It was maybe a movie, whatever, a little video that said that BlackRock, and I haven't been able to verify this, I haven't even tried, is run by 8 Orthodox Jews. Is it true? I don't know. But the thing that this brings to mind is that within the Israeli government, within the Israeli population, are people that do things that are as on a par with what Khomeini and his thugs do. They're bad boys, man. They're sick. They're sick MFs. So when Rubio and them say or when Q says we're saving Israel for last, they're saving that part of the deep state. Now, I've heard that BlackRock has been totally taken over by the White Hats. That's just part of the movie. BlackRock's having problems now. They don't want to give their funds away. People can't get their money out. Israel sure did. Yeah, Israel. Now, this is not to say, with a lot of the Patriot channels, like people like Ian Carroll, to mention names, and to some respect, Ariel, and some of these people will tell you that the Jews are rotten to the core, that it's all of them, that it's Israel. They say it's Israel, meaning it is like saying it's Iran or it's China. Now, what the hell does that mean? It really means nothing, because this is a transnational criminal cartel in all these places running the world. And we're coming to the end of it. Trump is bravely going where no one has gone before. Instead of allowing this perpetual, never-ending conflict to go on in the Middle East, he decided to just put on his big boy pants and just eviscerate the deep state within Iran. Just take them out, destroy them with the greatest military ever. in order to solve the problem that the deep state pursues, which is we must keep conflict alive. We must have the Jews hating the Islamics. We have to keep this hatred going, or else. So so what happened on October 7th with Hamas coming over the border into a music festival and the Israeli security being told, or at least that's what Q said, is 5 years before it happened, Q said Israeli intelligence stand down. This is something that at least in the past, I haven't had any real direct communication with people in my community or Israelis. And whenever I talk, like if I talk to my son is not interested in this stuff. I do have a few friends in Crown Heights, but we don't talk about this anymore. But it used to annoy the hell out of me that you could not tell a Jewish person that October 7th, the reason October 7th happened, the reason that 1,000 Jews got massacred or captured was because elements within the Israeli government are as committed to destabilization as is Hamas. In fact, they work together. This is a thought that that rank and file Yidden cannot accept. And I just be like, it seems obvious that Israel, with the greatest security force on the planet, doesn't just that people are telling me, I said, how do you explain it? They're saying, like, well, the Israeli government made a mistake. You don't make mistakes like that. You don't just let the border down for 7 hours and go eat falafels. It's like, Moshe, I really need a falafel, man. Just tell everyone on the border, let's just go out. We'll take 7 hours. We're going to get I know a really nice falafel place in downtown Tel Aviv. I'll buy for my men. Well, this is not what happened. An evil parasite, deep state Satanist, child trafficking, blood sucking worm of a reptile that position themselves within the non-elected bureaucracy of Israel, somehow got their people at Mossad, probably the same people that there were people apparently from Mossad that helped set the explosives on 9/11, according to a lot of accounts. Is this true? I can't verify it, but it sure sounds true. Does that mean that Mossad in general are out to kill as many people as they can and they don't care? I don't think so, but I think there are elements, just like there are people in the CIA with Operation Mockingbird, with all these corporations, that they work hand in hand. The deep state is a pervasive illness that spreads like the plague, that is spread like a plague throughout the human design. Wow, I just drank more water than I've done in days. I can feel Creator's hand and design in this great awakening. Others are feeling it and coming into resonance with the highest vibration. The awakening is in full motion now. Yeah, I totally agree, Pappy. And I love your posts, by the way. I totally agree. I'm not getting into I hope you're not thinking that this is all leading to like a black pilling, like we're fucked, nothing, there's nothing we can do to stop it. No, but if they're indeed saving Israel for last, and if it's true that I mean, the reason this is kind of blowing my mind is because I heard from a friend that told me that that Orthodox people do some pretty disgusting things. That some Orthodox people. Is this your it's like the Vatican. The Vatican are demonic. They abuse children, they steal money, they do all these things. Does that mean that Catholics are they're all Satanist? I don't think so at all. Some of the nicest people I've ever met are Catholic. They're just beautiful people. So I don't and it's like Iran. You have the Ayatollah and then you have the Persian people. You have the Israel Rothschild deep state, and then you have Dati. You have people that believe in God, that work together, that have a religion that is so beautiful. I'm glad I'm not. I don't miss it in the sense that like I really want to be Orthodox again, but I recognize that if you are in that situation, if you are in that community, it is a blast. It is a friggin' blast, man. I mean, at this point in my life, I'd rather hang out in on the prairie here or up in the desert and put my little tomato seeds in the ground. But that's just where I'm holding right now. But absolutely, Pappy. I mean, so what I'm saying is that if so, Trump has done something that is so spectacular. Instead of saying, "Well, we'll make a treaty with Iran, we'll get the boys at the UN to, we'll take some of their kids, and we'll maybe we'll do a little organ trafficking, and we'll send them a few pallets of cash, like Obama did. We'll just send them, a couple dozen pallets of, millions of dollars." And really, instead of President Trump just said, "We're taking the fun. We're taking them out. We're just going to take them out completely. They will not have a military period. They will not have leadership period." Trump said they blew out they totally destroyed the heads of state twice already. And now, Khomeini's son is saying give me a break. But the deep state, they are so used to being in power. They don't know when to say no. So once what people are hinting at, and this is something I'm getting on X, people are hinting that they are taking out Iran, but they are about to also completely obliterate the deep state within Israel. And God, they have my blessings, man. I mean, go for it. Take them out. And let the Israeli people, maybe they have by now. I haven't really, like I said, I haven't been in contact, but maybe they do understand. We are being shown and asked to remember who we are and what our potential and power really is. A welcoming to the path of enlightenment and transformation. Yeah, I totally agree, Pappy. We're connected to they're connected to the United Nations, right? They're all connected, but we're all connected too. Pappy, you know what I thought today? I want to know what you think of this. So we haven't had chemtrails for like the last 5 days. I don't know why. But a couple of planes came out and started to leave trails out there. And I ran out of I was already outside. I worked outside all day. But I was outside and I started to scream and yell at them and make motions like just and I thought to myself, what if instead of just passively allowing the chemtrails. I don't know if this is true worldwide. I only know my little sector. In my little sector, we've had beautiful skies for the last couple days. Beautiful. None of this shenanigans where they come and paint the sky in the middle of the night and then you wake up with you can't see the sun and then my solar panels freak out and all that. What if people went instead of just like just started to point fingers at the sky, just really reacted heavily. You're outside and you're like, look over there, it's a chemtrail. I can't stand that. They're poisoning the sky. What if people did that more? And there's a Little Rascals adventure where somebody had a neck brace on and he was looking up at the sky and he walked out into the street like this and suddenly everyone's looking up. Maybe, maybe that's the way to approach it. I don't know. I don't know if they're going away. I'm very happy to hear that RFK Jr. is now talking about chemtrails. I find it despicable. But anyway, we're connected. Yeah. The Peace Club, whatever Trump's thing is, Trump is committed to having peace in the Middle East. This is a big cash cow for the bad guys, and there are probably all kinds of ancient tunnel systems underground there. So President Trump and the White Hats and the military are totally taking out this part of the conflict. And I think when they say they're saving Israel for last, they'll also take out the deep state within Israel. I know there are a lot of lobbyists that have dual citizenships. There's a lot of question. I mean, I'm a Yid, but I question all these things. I question the idea. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, that there are 8 Orthodox people that are running BlackRock. That is a hard pill to swallow, but it could be that these are like the kind of deep staters that run Israel and that they just look the other way and do terrible things to other human beings. Hold your head up high. Yeah. Trump recently in a meeting in Florida, many leaders, and they all agreed to eliminate the narco terrorist groups in their countries. Right. I saw that. That's, yes, so many things are really being attended to. Trump does not look away and hope that things get better. He goes right to it. He's amazing. No chemtrails today either. I always curse them out when I see them. I also pray against them and send my disapproving energy to them. So you're in line with me I mean, I go out and do embarrassing things. I do like sling, bow and arrow movements, and I pretend to shoot them down, and I, make all kinds of things. I was actually direct. I can see. I think it's I think it's ether or some kind. There's a type of energy that I can see with my eyes. I trained my eyes a long time ago to see auras, but I can also see. So today I was like directing this energy, and I could see this kind of like plasma or some kind of ether energy being directed at these planes, and they flew away. They stopped. They didn't leave bad trails. Grok did not agree that BlackRock is run by Orthodox Jews. Okay, so maybe that was just one of these haters on X.
Grok lies a lot too.
Grok lies too. That's what Daniela said. It left a foggy sky for hours. Yeah, that's the chemtrails, man. There is a kind of a fog, a mist in the mountains now, but it's low lying. It's in the valley, going towards Phoenix and also out west towards Las Vegas. In the near future, Earth will have the 22 federal unions and Golden Dome that protect all nations. I think so. Grok did not agree that BlackRock is, yeah, but yeah, we don't know if Grok's a good source either. But that's great that there were no chemtrails. That's a very big deal. And people, there are people that say, well, they're good chemtrails. I don't buy it. So I don't feel like a total goon to run out and curse the pilots that are doing that. Okay, so I'm going to go now. Turn to the thought stream just for a few minutes. How am I doing time wise? I'm sorry I started late, but look, Danielle.
No, we started early.
What?
We started early.
I started early.
Yeah.
I did.
Yes.
What time did I start?
7:30.
7:30. Wow. Okay, so Danielle's happy with my timing. Very, she get because usually at the end of a broadcast we're just like, we had planned to do something together to watch something, and we're just like, I got to go to bed. I can't stay awake.
Yeah, we have to go that early too. So.
Right. Yeah, we got stuff in the morning. Always. It's always busy up here. You would think the idea of like of a guy living in nature and like, sitting on his hammock, that is not my idea of a good time. I do not do downtime very well. I like to work, but personal dual weapons, right? Direct energy weapons. Yeah, I think so. And maybe this is the way we can come to empower ourselves. Maybe this is the way we can come to remember who we really are. So I don't know if I would I mean, I probably would do it in the middle of New York City, but most people would not. I'm a little uninhibited when it comes in general, which is, good, both good and bad. Anyway, let's go to the thought stream. It's really the information, like Pappy says, man, it is pouring out. So okay, so before we do it, let me just make my one big point. Forget about BlackRock, but the point of Iran and Israel were at odds forever. And this is like the Star Trek. Do you remember the original? I never saw Star Trek 2 or the new whatever it was, but the old Star Trek, they had this adventure where there were two people fighting and they were fighting eternally. Why were they fighting? Because one was like had black on, like part of his body was black and the inner part of his body was white, and the other one had the outer part of his body was white and the inner part of his body was black. They were like just these two painted characters, and they were eternally at war. And this is what the deep state wants. They can do whatever they want to us when we're worried about the war, when we're an Israeli thinking that why won't they just leave me and my family alone? When is this thing ever going to end? And if left to the deep state, no, it would never end. And you'd be so busy hating the enemy and cursing all the horrible things that they do, and doing bad things back to them, and being in this eternal war. But Trump is saying, no, no, no. I'm going to get to the root of this, not just in Iran, but in Israel, and the conflict will be over, so we can get on to the business of the Great Awakening, of Nasara Jasara, of being rich, of being able to do what you want to do all day with no restraint. You're like, like even up here, we're like, well, can we really afford another piece of plywood? It won't be like that. It's like, Danielle, I'm going down to town. I'll come back with 20 sheets of plywood. It won't even be a question. All right, so let's just spend a few moments. I'm going to go to not to my stream, even though let's just start there. Okay, the storm has arrived. Can I get out of this? No, see, once this Restream has really screwed me over with this. They can't seem to, they won't. But okay, let me go to the regular stream. Okay, here we go. No, that's the wrong one. Hold it. Stop sharing. I'm embarrassed. Okay, here we go. Let's try it again. Third time's a charm, right? Oh. All right. Let's see. How do I do this? Okay, so wait. I'm going to go to here, and I'm going to go to here. Okay. All right. Then I'm going to go back, and now I'm just going to share what's coming out recently. Okay. Just so we have a little bit of time. Hey, Paul Little. Are you related to Jean Little? I mean, she was my English teacher. I love Jean. I love Miss Little. Miss Little. It wasn't Mrs. Little, it was Miss Little. And she was about like 6'2". She was not little. Why she was called Miss Little, I don't know. Okay, so here we go. Let's go here. Right. Okay, so let's just look at the general thought stream just for a few moments. Reptilians caught on camera. Okay, that's interesting. That's an interesting thought. JFK live on Scorpios. JFK faked his assassination. A clone was put in his place. He was protected by Onassis on his private island, Scorpios. Onassis married Jackie to protect her too. Okay, so that's interesting. The war you cannot see. This Zachary Fisher puts out post after post, really great posts. I highly recommend you check them out. Even Google has a picture of the executions in 2020 on the White House lawn. I told the radical left liberal lunatics, and they just called me bad names. All right, so that's out there. Mary Kay Cosmetics, anyone? After all, what makeup is really invented for? Bras, high heels, wigs, shoulder pads, fake nails. Okay, I don't know what that's about. How did this video get leaked? This is a secret meeting of world leaders, traitors, and what they plan for us all. All traitors that have signed the New World Order. You are finished. We the people have risen. That's beautiful. Cancer has been cured. Ivermectin and fenbendazole can cure cancer. Pass it on. Interesting. That's just beautiful. Real picture of Starbase X. I don't know what that is. The Treasury Secretary just said it. Pass the crypto bill ASAP. Not eventually, not someday, right now. Trillions of dollars sitting on the sidelines, waiting for one thing, one bill, one signature, one green light. Think about what actually lined up right now. Maybe he's talking about Kraken, and I know Kraken is going to start tokenizing stocks and other possessions, other materials. President Trump just confirmed that the Clarity Act is ready. He says that Bitcoin and the crypto bill will be signed in March. Giga bullish for crypto. The U.S. Treasury wants to give crypto exchanges power to freeze your funds if they look suspicious. This is another black pill. I just don't go for this kind of thought. It's too negative. Derek Johnson. Okay, I'm a big Derek Johnson fan. This new memorandum brings more validation of 4547, President Trump's executive order, and the first executive order on transnational crime says that they can freeze their funds. Literally, the political value is going to age better than anything you watched all day. The people are getting it. Hold the line. Okay, so that's really interesting. Iran is wrapping up. Here are the next plays. Breaking. Trump confirms a war with Iran is over. U.S. is taking control of the Strait of Hormuz. No more oil crisis. Bullish news for risk assets. Bitcoin just went parabolic. Interesting. Pink Floyd, I don't know what that is. The government can literally log into your nervous system. That's interesting. Ancient technology destroying modern weapons. Media blackouts and the usual suspects. March 9th, 193 countries and 170 of them were getting. Okay, so all right, so I'm not wowed by it, but it just seems to me like I don't know if you guys agree, but it just seems like all the information is coming out. People are waking up. Things are good. and we're waiting for this last piece. Then they're going to go after Cuba. Then they're probably going to go after all the judges and unseal a lot of indictments. I'm not related to Ellie. I'm sure she was a good teacher. The Littles are either of Irish or Scottish heritage. I'm of Irish heritage. Looking forward to St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, she was amazing. She was just such a nice person, but she's really a gentle giant. She was really big, and I was really a small kid, but I was not intimidated. Most adults, including teachers, did not. I did not vibe with them, but with Miss Little, I totally got her. She was just sweet to me. Exposure done at its finest. Yeah, the mask. All right, so I think I've said enough. I put my foot in my mouth enough times already. Just a reminder that if you feel so inclined, join the Republic. Just go to the Republic for USA.org. republicforusa.org. Join. I'm going to a meeting on Wednesday with the boys of Mojave County. We're starting the Republic there, and I'm guns blazing. It's a great thing. Also, a reminder that if you're looking for improved health, please contact. That you have a new email number now. I have to get your email thing. You could contact. Let's see if I can do this. You could contact Daniela. That's her new G. Oh no, that's. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Is this one? No. I have to get this together. But let me just put in just my info, and it's not moving, which I like. But if you're interested in really magnificent health, the LifeWave patches are just tremendous. I'm 71. I worked all day. The easy part was framing in the morning. I dealt with some big beams. I didn't fall off the ladder at all this morning. I didn't fall off one ladder. And I came to the conclusion that, and Danielle has really taught me this. Listen, respect yourself. Set up the ladder properly. Do not, my instincts are like, just put a ladder against the wall. Okay, it's leaning a little bit, no biggie. That is not the right attitude to have when you live in the middle of nowhere, zillion miles away from a hospital, or God forbid, and you're 71. My mother is like, no man over 60 should ever be on a ladder. That's what some doctor told her. But doctors are not reliable either. But anyway, I got to do what I got to do. But the idea, I tried practicing this morning of, okay, just take a few minutes. It's not going to change the amount of time the whole thing takes. Put the ladder in the right place. Make sure it's like I'm not on level ground because we haven't really leveled our house yet. Make sure that the ladder is stable. Make sure you do all the prep work. Make sure, if you need to do an extra step, if you need to drill something again and with a different size drill. I came up with this whole procedure for drilling lag bolts through beams and into other beams. Kind of a new way for me to deal with these kinds of situations, so that the beams are rock solid and they will hopefully last for generations. That's my belief, my hope. Anyway, so if you're interested in the patches, if you're interested in X39, that's the basic patch that stimulates stem cell production by activating copper peptides in your body. And when you have your own stem cells, you have the army of stem cells floating around your body, they can go and they will fix whatever they feel needs to be fixed first. I'm like, really, I got this thing with my big toe, could you stem cells go? And they're like, No, no, Ellie, we're working on your kidney right now, man. Just, just hang tough, man. Just think about, just be patient. When we're ready, we will get to that toe. That's the stem cells, according to Dr. Stacy. But they will get to the root, not the symptom. They won't just get to, the whatever. They will get to the problem itself. The stem cells can fix the problems inside your body. Now, somebody was asking recently about uh, a crushed vertebrae. I don't know, but if you have a crushed vertebrae, I would call Dr. Stacy and ask her what experience she has with it, because she will tell you, and she will help you. She will say, well, I know somebody who had a crushed vertebrae and they took X39, they took Eon, obviously, which deals with inflammation, and X49 deals with muscles. So all these patches work synchronistically together, and they will enhance your ability to pluck a casual chemtrailing plane out of the sky. Your light body will be so powerful. You'll be so connected to all that is, that you'll be able to just put your finger up and go, and the plane will just evaporate, and you'll never see it again. So yeah, I encourage everyone to get out there and yell at your local chemtrailers. Let's see. Okay, let me go to chat. But if you do want some healing things that will help you where nothing else has worked, call Dr. Stacy, sign up on my LifeWave channel, become a brand partner, get a core pack or better, and then you're good for life, and try it out for a while. It's not a quick fix. It could be. Some people get kind of instant results. I felt it initially, but it took me a couple of years really to understand the benefits of these patches. I have one on now, but I'm wearing a turtleneck, so I can't show it. You're not really, yeah. But she was a great teacher, man. I'm just telling you. Hey Trinity. So yeah, so that's it, man. I mean, just thanks. I don't know if I've touched on anything of any value to you tonight. I hope I have. But it seems to me, in terms of the big picture, that this eternal conflict in the Middle East has been basically settled. Now, I don't know. Somebody said last night that they already took care of this 5 years ago. I don't know if that's true. I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me when it happened, but it is happening, and it is ongoing. This is a big solution that Trump and the White Hats are pulling off. So the deep state within the country called Iran, and the deep state within the country called Israel, and all these surrounding countries in the Middle East that were perpetually fighting each other, are now going to come together as an economic collective under Jassara and work together and make the Middle East the beautiful region that it should have been. Lebanon will be reestablished as the most beautiful place ever. All these countries are gorgeous. Their aspects, and Petra, is it Petra in not Syria, in I've gotten out of this. I used to spend all my time with Israeli politics. When I figured out that the deep state is helping destroy Israel, just like they're helping destroy the United States, I just went out. But Trump in the White House, President Trump in the White House, they are putting an end to the endless war. They're going to now go to Cuba and fix Cuba. He says, if they want us, we'll be there. If they don't want us, we'll be there. He's like, we're going to fix Cuba. We already cut off Venezuela. We cut off their oil supply. everything is moving forward. He cut off the city of London and those parasitic uh, zombies from the Strait of Hormuz and their insurance scams. So the deep state's in a bit of a they probably would make up something about it's Orthodox Jews running BlackRock. I don't know. I think if that was the case, Ian Carroll would be licking his chops, and we would have heard it from him already. I don't know. I wonder, like, who is running? It's the bloodline families. It's the Black Pope, the Gray Pope, the Irving from that I knew from kindergarten. Is I don't know who's running the world, but it hasn't been running in the nice way that it should be. And kids are going missing, and money has been stolen, and people are not living the wonderful, glorious lives that they will be living soon. I agree with Pappy. It's happening. Liberation is at hand. There's nothing that can stop what's coming. And we're in the final stages of this, and the money will be coming next. I'm sure they'll flip a switch and suddenly everything will be ready for July 4th. So let's play a tune. Let's do the freedom one. Let's do this one.
The night was hotter than hell and forever long. I can see the first light breaking through the trees. I feel the changes in the cool breeze of freedom. It's a new morning. We never saw it coming, hiding in plain sight. Banksters taking power, stealing our lives. They were looking to bury us in debt, shame and fear. But our roots grew stronger as we reached into the air with freedom. Freedom. And it's a new morning. It's a new with each day we're rising up in this world with the power of love, with the power of peace, the power of joy, the power of truth. It's a new morning. It's a new morning. It's a new
So let's get out there and let's enjoy these last days of Gullus. What I was kind of thinking was, do the Israelis, and I don't really know because I'm not in contact, like I said, do the Israelis know that redemption, that we talked about redemption of the coming of Mashiach, that the coming of the peaceful new age, that Shabbos of that the time of Shabbos has come, that we're about to launch into eternal peace, in my opinion. It just seems that way. Yeah, Pepe Orsini, right? The world is run by a guy named Pepe. Right? I mean, that makes sense, Yeah, sure, Pepe. It's like, okay. Uh, but yeah, it could be. I don't know. I don't. I kind of think that if we know his name, we probably isn't him, but I don't know. But I really think it's not forces of flesh and blood. That these are demonic, nuanced, interdimensional beings that are invested in harvesting our loosh and keeping us constantly frightened and making sure that my credit score I'll never get out of the poor credit score stage. And but I don't care. But anyway, yeah, their credit score is even worse, and they're going down. So let's get out there with force. Let's not back down from the chemtrail creepers and just say, just go outside and be outrageous and point to them and say, call them out and say, I hope you change your mind and turn off your engines and go home and never do this again. Or something a little more spicy if you feel like it. May force be with you. May you realize that you are force. Mr. Burns of The Simpsons. All right. He's running the world. May source be with you. May you realize that you are a creative source. So if you remember like 5 years ago that you like to knit, whatever it is. I mean, for me, it's seeds, but let's be fruitful and multiply, man. Let's take the world back into a place of peace and prosperity and good health and sunshine and children. Never-ending days of wonder and joy. Not a bad day amongst them. So let's get out there with a big smile on our face and rock the world.